Hopefully y'all can hear me. Live from my garage, apparently. So, hello everyone, and yeah, welcome to another live stream session. This is a little bit of a different setting, obviously, without as much space as you've seen on the screen before. But what we're doing today is actually going to involve a little bit of movement. So, the first thing that I'll just mention with this session is that if you're sitting on the couch or sitting at your desk or something, just watching this, then I would suggest you get up and give yourself just a little bit of space to try these things out, these exercises that we're going to be doing. Because I'm going to be introducing for you guys today, for anyone, this could apply for either prep work or this could be a starting point for some of the things that you want to do to begin any type of exercise or any type of movement that you want to get into. And I figured with today's stream, it'd be a good idea to start slow, start with some basics, because basics is another word for fundamentals, and it's important for anyone to master those type of things and have a grasp of the fundamentals, and just understanding why it's important for you to start with something like this. Whether you're already pretty familiar with strength and conditioning exercises or cardiovascular exercises, so by that I mean weightlifting or running exercises, these are just some good things that can help in your recovery process and in your warm-up to get your body prepared to do those type of things. And like what I mentioned before, if you haven't done anything during this quarantine, then you could start with this, because if you're certainly just going to start lifting weights or start running around, you can be pretty sore the next day. So you want to be able to start slowly and build up with this. So this is something that's going to apply for everyone. And hopefully during this time while I'm talking, you found just a little bit of space to show to try out some of these exercises that I'm going to suggest for you, because I feel it's important. I call them exercises. You can call them mobility workouts. You can call them movements. Just the importance behind this is practicing the movement and getting familiar with it, because I'm sure what's happening a lot nowadays, if you're a student, you're staying at home, and when you're getting your work done, you're kind of, in some situations, flooded with 7 classes worth of schoolwork, and you have to try to manage that time. So in a typical classroom setting, when you're going to class, you're sitting for the longest amount of time, 45, 50 minutes straight, given you're not getting up to go to the bathroom or need to go to the office, to the library or something like that. So there's actually not as much time where you're sitting, or maybe standing would be a little bit better, but there's probably a lot more time that you're spending contributing and getting your work done by just staying in one solitary position, one sedentary position, and that's not as good for you. There's that comment that's being made where sitting is the new smoking, meaning to live a inactive lifestyle and to spend an extreme amount of time, it's just not good for the body. And what you may be recognizing, if you haven't already, I certainly come across this just because I'm much older than a lot of you students, but if you're starting to experience this already, then this is just a good warning sign to add this little thing to your routine. Something that you can even try out and write about in your reflection paper that's due at the end of this week. Because from sitting or laying down from extreme or just a very long amount of time, you may just notice some pain that's happening in your back or within your hips because of the position that you're sitting in. It's a very unnatural position. So it's important to refresh the body or prepare the body for workouts that you're doing. And this is just a good way to introduce, a good way to start. So what I'm going to show you today are just some simple mobility exercises. Again, the word doesn't really matter. I'm just going to show you some things that help take good care and support your back and your hips. Just a few exercises right there. I am a lot farther away from the screen than usual, so if there's any of you that leaves a comment or a question, I'll try to get back to it at the end of it. But I'll just go ahead and get started with. So the first thing that you have to recognize is that you have to be a little resourceful. You may or may not. I'll show you the first thing right here. I'm actually just going to adjust the screen a little further down here. As you can tell, hopefully you enjoy learning a little bit about me and my, where I live and what I do and whatnot. As you can tell, I have a whole bunch of little toys that I can show around. If you're not familiar with this is a foam roller. So this is the first thing that I'll just show for all of you that actually help work out your back. In our workout classes, we're familiar with the L spine, the T spine, and then the C spine. This is something that's going to help open up those little pockets in your vertebrae, specifically in the T spine and the C spine, because that's where a lot of that movement comes from. So, yeah, there we go. There's a little bit of space right there. like to start with the foam roller right at the middle of my back. My butt's on the ground, and I'm trying to keep my spine in a good position. You just saw me lean back a little bit. I put my hands on the back of my head, and then I tuck in that belly right there. Try to lean back as far as I can, hold it for a couple seconds, then I bring it back in. You may feel a pop, you may not, it doesn't matter. I do about 3 to 5 of those, and then I roll just a little bit down right on top of my shoulder blades, and then I do the same thing, leaning back and then leaning forward. Felt a little pop there, and then I try to just go right above it down there, and then I do the same thing. 3 to 5 of those, inhaling, exhaling in the process, and then I actually work back to the middle, do the same thing, and then I work just below my shoulder blades, lean back and up right there. I also like to end just with a simple one like this. Rolling back and forth. You gotta try to not go too far like what I just did where you can get caught up on the shirt. So that's just one start where that helps prepare the back. One thing to cover though, you may not have this at home. Here's just an easy way to modify. Start with my back on the ground, flat like that. I put my right leg up, I put my hands on my chest, and this is called a bridge. So I really feel within my L spine that like I'm having a lot of tension and I'm tightening up, and I'm looking to hold this up. I do 30 seconds. It really matters how much or how little you're doing this. If you're doing this for the first time, I suggest 15 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. If you want to build up to 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or a minute, that's fine. And what's great about this, when you try to hold up as long as you can, when you bring it back down, you can actually feel a little pop when you bring your hips back down. And then I do the same thing for the other side. So those are just some exercises that are just on your back alone. Kind of help prepare it, whether it's give itself that good mobility or kind of just get rid of just the pockets where you feel pops. A lot of you kids may ask, hey, can you crack my back? And then you have one of your friends wrap around you. That's great, that's fun for that relaxation, but it's not actually doing any type of movement to activate some things. It's really just kind of like eliminating those pockets, and you feel that nice cracking. Oh yeah, that's nice. But it's important that you add movement to it, which is why I suggest using the foam roller. If you don't have that, just do the bridges exercise like what I just showed you. So I'm gonna move on to the next thing. That's gonna involve opening up the hips and the back actually at the same time. So I went with back, we're gonna do back and hips, and then I'm gonna end with just hips separate. Now, what's nice about this is while you're getting some movement in, it's requiring a little bit of muscle work as well. Like from what I just showed you, you have a little bit of recruitment needed with your abs and then the muscles that are in your back. So what I like to start here, I'll try to be as loud and as slow as possible. This is just what's called an easy plank position. The first thing that I like to do, I take my left leg back, I try to put up as high as I can, then I shoot it forward. If you want to rest your right knee down, that's completely fine. I put my foot right next up to my feet so that I take my left hand and I just try to open my chest up towards the sky so it's like I'm making a straight line. Hopefully you see within the example. This is a good way just to open up your hips and actually open up your chest and back all at the same time. This is a 3 to 5 rep type of thing. And then I put it back up and then back down. Same thing here. I do the same thing to the right side. It's a lot easier if you put your right knee down. By all means, I suggest that you do that just so that you can keep balance. And the whole point of this is just working the hips and the spine all together. So if you haven't noticed already, I said about 3 to 5 reps on the foam roller warm up here. And then on this, I suggested, I think it was between 5 to 10 reps. So the number of times that I did it on one side, let's say if I do 5 on this side and then 5 on the other side, that's actually one set. My suggestion is to do 3 sets. The reason why, you may have heard this a lot, either in my PE classes or some workout program that you do. The 3 sets with an X number of reps is actually just kind of a universal saying. When there are studies that are conducted to kind of suggest the importance or the benefits of whatever certain exercises, especially in weight training, they've always had a constant of 3 sets, 10 reps. So that's where that comes from when they say like, hey, you want to do 3 sets of 10 or 3 by 10. It's just a universal thing that a lot of trainers and a lot of people that have conducted studies have used as a constant to show benefit, whether it's in weight training exercises or sprinting exercises, which has a little bit of cardio benefit to it as well. You could do as many reps or as many sets as you'd like. I just suggest you don't do too many to the point where you're kind of overestimating and then you quit halfway through. The more you do, the better challenge that you're going to get, but you want to be able to pick the right ones. So I suggest if you're doing this for the first time, start small. Then the next time you go, actually, I think I could push myself a little bit. Well, then you're feeling a whole better about yourself all of a sudden, aren't you? So let's move on to the next one. The next one is actually going to be our last one. I just showed you hips and spine. The last one's going to be hips here as well. What this does, and along with all the other exercises that I've, at least with the last one that I showed you, there's internal and external rotation that's occurring. I, just in one area, externally rotated to put my arm back up. You're going to be doing internal and external rotations with your legs. So I'm actually just going to back up here a little bit to give you a little bit of an example. There we go, all right. So you're going to start in the same position, only your feet are going to be together on the ground, and I suggest the back of your hands flat up against the ground here. You almost want to try to push your knuckles into the ground. Make sure your arms are at a 50-50. I'm going to show you an example here on the left side where I just bring my left leg up into a 90-90 position. I want to think keeping my right butt and my right knee down to the ground as much as possible. And I'm just going to open my hip up 90 degrees. I went a little fast there. I try to count to 10 while keeping the right side of my body down to the ground. And then I always try to bring it back up, set, and here. The reason why you want to bring it back up, set, and then down is because you spent a lot of time opening up your hip. You want to reset it. So that was an external rotation. I'm going to show you an internal rotation on the right side actually, just so that you get a good view. So external rotated, if I were to do that to this leg, I'd be opening up this way. I'm going to try to keep the left side of my body down to the ground. If you notice your hip is coming up, you got some tight hips there, and you want to keep that notion of trying to keep that left side down. If you don't go as far down because of it, that may be a good thing, and you know where to challenge yourself to increase your mobility. So that's external rotation, but if I'm going to internally rotate, I'm going to give myself the target of taking the inside part of my left foot, and I'm going to hit the the inside part of my right foot. I want to hit the outside part of my left foot. And by that, I'm going to try to turn in so that my leg is rotating in towards the midline. And I want to try to hold that for a good 10 seconds. Some of you may be able to do this, some of you may not, and that's all right. But you want to be able to try to push yourself. After that, I get myself reset, and then I go back down. So what you want to be able to do with this exercise, I like 10 reps. Give yourself 3 sets, a good place to start, because it's not so stressful as you just notice the limitation within the motion of your hips. So that means on one set, you're doing 10 reps external and internal. 10 reps external and internal for both legs. Great way to open up the hips, especially if you're a runner or if you're doing squats, for example. You want to be able to have as much motion within your hips. So that's those are just a few of the things that I just wanted to show you today. 3 simple ones that you can do at home, and obviously, as you can tell, I'll try to move this up as I walk back up. There we go. Oh, starting to fall over a little bit. Well, there's your at-home setup stuff right there. All right, so I'm getting right behind that light too. Got to work on my studio work. So what you may notice is that, all right, whatever. There are, I think just one piece of equipment that I suggested for this. If you have that, great. I kind of showed you a way to move around, just to move around that, and where you can actually go through the same exercise or movements with or without the foam roller. But anything else that I showed you, all you just need is just a little bit of space. I did it here in my garage. If you've watched enough of these Twitches, at least 3 I've been doing streams in my living room or in the guest room, and now I showed you here within my garage, just to give you all the type of options and creativity that you can just find in wherever your area is, just to take good care of your body. And sometimes that means preparing your body either before you do physical activity, or just putting your body through the good tutorial that it needs. If you haven't been doing anything, if you haven't realized, we've been out of school for about 8 weeks now, which is the amount of time that's in a summer vacation. And we have summer vacation that's going after. So think about all the things that can compound if you keep this routine, if these are just some things that you're adding either to your pre-workout or for your workout in general. If you keep these type of things, it could compound, it can improve your mobility, and maybe not so much feeling great, which is a good thing. We all want to feel great, but also recognize the times where you don't feel as bad as you had in the past if you keep doing these type of things. So those are all just easy at-home things that you can do. And if you haven't started it, anything like this, you can start with something like this. It's completely manageable and you feel good at it at the end of it. Don't forget about the number of sets and reps. I suggest starting small so that you can understand, oh, I can actually push myself a little further with more reps or more sets. Don't try to go past 3 sets and don't try to go past 10 reps. If you're feeling well, doing 3 sets of 10 and all those exercises that I showed you, then you're probably prepared to push yourself in some other ways, whether you want to do that with running or with weightlifting or other things like that, which is something that we can tap into further on here during this remote learning session. So I see the chat. You don't have any questions, which is good. So I guess you all understand it completely well. If you have any questions, you know how to reach out to me. We do have a guest speaker that's coming in later this week on Friday. I'll give you the details on Wednesday for that. Have a good day, everyone.